Okay, so the easiest way for you guys to talk about the diagonal of either a rectangular prism or a cube. So I want you guys to understand. So the diagonal goes from the farther corner in the back to the closer corner in the front. Okay, in order for you guys to find this, we need this measurement right here, and we also need this diagonal right here. So we're building into this kind of right triangle, and we're finding the hypotenuse. So I just want you guys, again, thinking about this. Now, we all agree that in order to do this, we first need AC. Okay, so to get AC, normally what you guys are going to do, let me pick a different color. Let's do green. It's March. Okay, so normally if you look at what I'm tracing, again, this green represents a right triangle, okay? So hear me out. Let's call this side A, we'll call this side B, and we'll call this side C. Now, I'm assuming you guys are in agreement with me that A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Okay? Now, once we get C, we'll use C and we'll say that C squared plus D squared is equal to, and we'll call this E squared. Okay, and that's essentially what we want to get. We want to get this E squared, right? Okay, so look at what I just created, guys. I created a system, right? I mean, two equations, it's a system. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So I'm going to use substitution. So instead of C squared, I'm going to write in there A squared plus B squared plus D squared, and that's equal to E squared. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Again, A squared, which is the bottom, B squared, again, part of the bottom, and D squared, which represents the height of the cube. If you add all those up, it's equal to what we want, guys. It's equal to that E squared. Okay, so without you guys doing two separate problems, which is what I wanted you guys to get out of this, without you guys doing two separate problems, first you did A squared plus B squared, you got C squared, right? And then you got C. Then after that, you had to go through and you did, C squared plus D squared was equal to E squared, and you went through, right? We don't have to do that, guys. So it says if AC is X, okay, so I want you guys to think about this. Again, this is a cube. So I'm just going to draw the bottom of the cube, A, B, C, D. They're telling you from A to C, they want that to be called X. Keep in mind that this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, so the hypotenuse is equal to that X root 2 side. Now this is what throws you guys off because you're like, well, that's X and that's X and that's X. So let's say I drew a 45, 45, 90 triangle, isosceles right triangle, and I told you that this was 7. Do you remember, right? If this is 7, it's equal to the X root 2 side. Then what you'd have to do is you would take 7 equals X root 2, divide by root 2, divide by root 2. 7 divided by root 2 is equal to X. Oh, wait, we can't have a root 2 in the bottom. Multiply by root 2, multiply by root 2. We get 7 root 2 over root 4, which is 7 root 2 over 2. So this side is 7 root 2 over 2. 7 root 2 over 2. And then what happens is, let's say I change that 7. What if I told you that this side was 5? Okay, this is 5. This is 5. And again, you guys, look at, the only thing that's changing is this. Let's go back to the blue square that I drew and apply that to this X. If this is X, this side is X root 2 over 2. This side is X root 2 over 2. Okay? Coming back to your square that you guys see here, instead of A and instead of B, I'm going to write down x root 2 over 2, x root 2 over 2. And again, you guys, we have the height, obviously, of the square, which is d squared, because this is a cube. So that means d squared right here is also x root 2 over 2. Okay? And you can just plug it in like that. X root 2 over 2 squared plus x root 2 over 2 squared plus x root 2 over 2 squared. And that's equal to e squared. Okay, and I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably like, well, how do I square x root 2 over 2? So if you wanted to square x root 2 over 2, you multiply it by itself. Okay, and what happens is you get x squared times the square root of 4 over 4, which is x squared times 2 over 4, which is x squared over 2. I just reduced it. Now keep in mind that x squared over 2 is the same thing as 1/2 x squared. If I take something and I divide it by 2, it's the same thing as multiplying it by 1/2. Okay? 8 divided by 2 is 4. Half of 8 is 4. These two are interchangeable. So essentially, squaring x root 2 over 2 squared, I get 1/2 x squared. So go back to my original problem. 1/2 x squared plus 1/2 x squared plus 1/2 x squared. And again, that's equal to e squared. E squared is equal to 3 over 2 x squared. Take the square root of both sides, and you get e is equal to, okay, the square root of x squared is just x. And then I have the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. Rationalize. X root 6 over 2 as your answer. Okay, and again, this is just one way of doing this problem. You absolutely could have just found your d squared a different way. Okay. You could have just taken this x value right here, this c value, and said x squared plus the x root 2 over 2 squared was equal to e squared. And you could have gone that route. It's the same thing as what I did. But again, guys, I just made a system out of it, okay? So again, this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing this, just so you guys are aware. Okay, so we're okay with this is x. We figured out that this is x root 2 over 2. So again, if you guys wanted to build in this triangle, you guys can use, that's what I was talking about, right here. You're building this triangle. This height is x root 2 over 2. Get rid of all this jumbo stuff. Okay, so you're just using this right triangle right here. You're using this side, x root 2 over 2. You're using the bottom, which is x. And then obviously this is your diagonal, or your e squared, or whatever you want to call it. So again, this is the equation that you can use if you didn't build your system beforehand, right here. X squared, which is this right here. They told you what AC is. This is AC squared, plus, and then this side piece right here, we can call this AD, or DC, sorry, DC squared, and that's equal to AB squared. Okay, so either way, if you did not make a system the way that I did it, I was just kind of show you guys formulaically how you can find the diagonal in any kind of rectangular or cube prism. But you can absolutely do this problem and you'll get the same exact answer as that I got.